everybody. Welcome to Haunting at the Beverly Center, Part 5. And this episode is titled 7th Floor. So we are going to primarily focus on the stores on the 7th floor in this episode. Last episode, we covered the 8th floor, which only has a few stores, and as of now, H&M is going to be the only remaining store. But on the 7th floor, there are a lot more stores. I do think the 7th floor is the least haunted. If you're not counting the ground floor, I think the 7th floor is the least haunted of the 3 floors, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. But there's our fair share of ghost stories that I have here for you. I have this episode organized a little bit differently. The first part I'm going to go through, I have my ghost map here, and I'm going to share with you guys what I have found store by store. Some of them, no reported hauntings. Like I said, I literally talked to every single store in this building, inside and out. And just because someone who worked there told me that they didn't have an experience, doesn't mean that it's not haunted. But, you know, different people experience different things. So I'm just sharing the feedback that I've found. There are like some really interesting consistencies with like stores next to each other experiencing the same type of phenomenon. But I'm going to take you through store by store on the 7th floor for this episode and share what I found talking to people. And then I have 4 guests that are going to be speaking on the second half of this episode. One person from Philipp Plein, and then we have 3 people from Michael Kors. So let's get started. I have my ghost map in front of me, and I'm just going to run through the different stores. I might touch on them a couple times because a few of the anchor stores, such as Macy's and Bloomingdale's, have multiple stories. So it could be in the 7th floor, 6th floor, 8th floor category. I am just going to go through quickly just to keep it moving. If I have a story that someone shared with me and I wasn't able to capture them on the podcast, then I'm just going to paraphrase the story and share it with you guys. Like I said, I didn't experience it directly, but I did take notes in my phone from when they told me what they shared with me, and I want to relay that to you guys. And for anyone listening, if it's you that told me this, or if you know anyone, please have them reach out if they're interested in being on a future episode. I'd love to have their personal experience hearing it from them directly. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started on the Macy's corner of the mall. So Macy's, haunted. One of the menswear department managers, Robert, had mentioned that no one likes going to the loading docks after 5 to 6 p.m. There have been a lot of reports of the mall really amping up the energy towards the evening and the later afternoon, like 5, 6, 7, 8, towards closing. Also, I have someone else who used to work for AP who reached out and sent me a video of a black mass shadow moving through one of the security cameras in the middle of the night. This is actually a super chilling video. I'm going to upload it to my YouTube so you guys can watch it. I'm going to put all of my different archived information and videos and things that I have on YouTube, including my ghost map, so you guys can see it. So Macy's is haunted. I think that there's a lot more there that I haven't explored yet personally. On the next episode, I'm going to be walking through with Erica Altmiller, the psychic medium, and she's going to share a little bit about what she picks up on, so I'll touch on this again. So moving through, next to Macy's on the 7th floor, we have Sephora, Mont Blanc, and MCM. They all reported hauntings. Something interesting to note here, these 3 stores are next to each other, and all 3 of them had mentioned things happening in their stockroom. Sephora, haunted. Someone had mentioned hearing doors closing, seeing a shadow figure, and hearing things falling down. Mont Blanc, haunted. There was a girl there named Isabella who was sensitive, and she had heard a ghost say, "Be right out," from the locked bathroom in the back when all of her coworkers were on the floor. MCM, haunted. Someone had mentioned seeing a mannequin moving and just feeling watched. Versace, Golden Goose, and Burberry, possibly haunted. On my ghost map, I have the stockroom highlighted as a hotspot. Golden Goose had reported having water appearing in the stockroom out of nowhere. They said that there's definitely like a heavy feeling towards the back. So those 3 stores also had reported just like odd feelings in their stockroom along from of this water that Golden Goose had reported. Moving on, Balenciaga, not haunted. Louis Vuitton, not haunted. Dolce & Gabbana, my old store. I personally don't think it's haunted there. I was there for 4 years, and I, for the most part, can't even think of anything that really stands out for the first like 3-ish years. There were a couple small instances in this space, but nothing really significant. My coworker Will did have one occasion where he said that he noticed a shadow in the men's shoe section out of the corner of his eye. And one thing that I personally noticed that I honestly don't think it was paranormal, but there is this very heavy marble on the wall, and it was covering a doorway that you walk through. And me and like 2 other coworkers were probably like 5 feet away from this heavy marble, and this thing had to be over 100 pounds. This slate of marble just fell like 10 feet from above this doorway, and it completely like just broke into a few different pieces because it was so heavy, and it chipped the floor, and it could have killed us if it just landed right on us. That was something that was scary. I don't think it was paranormal related. This is after the store was remodeled. But like I said, I really don't think that that space is super haunted. Apple's right next to us, and Apple is haunted. I really find this one to be interesting because it's such a minimalistic store, and there's so many different people that are working there. And when you throw in all of these like technology pieces and phones and equipment, I feel like that could be a huge attraction for the paranormal. I didn't get the chance to talk to many people there, but one person I did talk to, he was one of the managers of the tech equipment, and he had mentioned that a piece of equipment had gone flying across the room. So that's interesting. It borders Dolce, but I mean, that could be haunted and ours not haunted. But yeah, so that's what I found from Apple. Armani Exchange, not haunted. Polo Ralph Lauren, haunted. The manager had mentioned that her and one of the assistants had noticed that shoes would repeatedly fall towards the back of the store. Wolford, haunted. My friend Kennedy used to work there, and she said that things on the hangers would fall off by themselves. There was an empty store at the time, so we'll skip that. Couldn't survey an empty store. Express, haunted. Someone had said that the things would be touched after just being fixed. That was the visual manager. And then there were 2 girls had mentioned that the room farthest to the left is where most of the activity would happen. The movement alarm would go off in that area quite often. Banana Republic, not haunted. Bloomingdale's, haunted. I had spoken with a man who used to work there. His name was Renee, and he had told me that on the 8th floor, one evening towards close, that he had saw some kids running around, and he had followed them into, it was a back room, I believe the stock room or a bathroom. I don't want to mistell the story, but he'd followed them into a back room because they were a little rowdy, just kind of running around. And when he got into the back room to find them, that they were not there and that they disappeared. So yeah, Bloomingdale's is haunted. Starbucks, not haunted, but I did talk with one of the baristas named Kathy, and she had told me about an experience that her significant other had had, and he was a security guard. This was a while back when there was a food court on the 8th floor, and he had seen surveillance footage that had shown chairs in the food court just being flying across the room, like being thrown randomly once it was closed by themselves. So Starbucks isn't haunted, but that is tying back up to the 8th floor, the food court. Wetzel's Pretzels, not haunted. The Watch Store, not haunted. Club Monaco, not haunted. maybe crazy, haunted. Someone named Jordan had mentioned that 30 minutes before closing, they had heard water turn on. Um, he was by himself, and in the back, the water had turned on, and he was afraid. And he just left the door open while talking to a friend on the phone because he didn't know why the water had turned on by itself. Les Cours Sauvages, haunted. Michelle had believed that her store was semi-haunted. She would hear a weird sound almost every day in the back and didn't know what it was. Love It, which used to be Rebecca Taylor, not haunted. Kenzo, haunted. This is one of my favorite stories. I talked to a girl who used to work there named Haley, and she shared this story with me, and I want her on the podcast so bad I wanted to interview her. So if you're listening out there and you want to come on, Haley, please, because I'd love to hear it straight from you. But she shared this story with me that she was closing one night, everything was in place, and then she came in the next morning with her manager, and apparently one of the poofs, like something that you would sit on, like a stool or something, had moved, that it was in a different spot. So the store manager at the time had checked the cameras to just see, and the store manager could not talk about it. Whatever she saw had disturbed her so much that she saw this poof move on the camera by itself. I have more questions to this, like that I'm just sharing what she told me. But apparently, like, the store manager was so freaked out from what she saw that she, like, couldn't talk about it, and that it freaked her out. So please, I have more. I want to know more about this. And then Haley also mentioned that the huge metal racks in the back had crashed down randomly also. Canada Goose, haunted. They had reported mysterious water just, like, showing up in the stockroom out of nowhere. Swarovski, haunted. They had heard voices in the back. Similar to Canada Goose, they also had heard voices in their stockroom. So a lot of stockroom activity. Michael Kors, really haunted. I have 3 guests that are going to come on later in this episode, so we'll get into all of that with them. Toomey, not haunted. Diesel, not haunted. Victoria's Secret. And disclaimer, this is the old location for Victoria's Secret. I believe it had moved to either the 7th or 6th floor, but the previous location where this was from was the center court on the 7th floor across from Dolce. Haunted. Kat and Stephanie had shared with me that they felt the presence of a little boy. The register would make weird sounds, and the lights would turn on and off on their own, and they just joked about there being a little boy there. And they would be there early some days or super late doing floor sets, so they were there kind of at like the wee hours, and then that's when they had a lot of the activity happening. Also, I'm going to share that this was in the center court. It seems like there's a lot of childlike activity in the center court. This is on the 7th floor, but below the Victoria's Secret is the Vans and Zara, which we haven't gotten to yet, but there's a lot of like childlike energy there. Omega, not haunted. Prada, not haunted. Gucci, not haunted. Saint Laurent, haunted. I don't know exactly what. There was someone named Michael who used to work there, and he had a story for me. So Michael, if you're listening, I want to hear what the story is, but I don't know. Philipp Plein, I have Ben on this episode. He's going to share his experience there. And then there are a few more just kind of random stores after that weren't haunted. One of the luggage stores by the escalator said that they weren't haunted, but they had often heard weird footsteps above them, which is like the in-between floor where Forever 21 would be, but they had mentioned that the footsteps feel kind of weird. It just didn't sound like normal footsteps, and where we kind of figured it wasn't directly Forever 21, so that's just something odd to note. Not saying it's haunted, but just something to take into consideration. And then Macy's haunted. Robert, one of the menswear department managers, had mentioned that no one likes going to the loading docks after 5 or 6 o'clock. Someone else had mentioned that the loading docks was super creepy later in the later afternoon, early evening, like when people are getting ready to leave, that it just had a vibe to it. Also, he had mentioned that on the 8th floor that there was some activity. In the next episode, I take Erica Altmiller through Macy's, and she just shares a few small things that she picks up on that store. That's in the next episode. One of the previous asset protection people had reached out to me who used to work at Macy's, and he shared a video with me that he recorded on the surveillance camera. Something that had happened in the middle of the night. It is a black shadow. It's like a mist or a black mass moving through the screen of the stockroom. It's some of the coolest and creepiest footage I've ever seen. So that's the last store on my ghost map for the 7th floor, just to kind of wrap up this floor. And now we're going to transition into the second part of the episode, which we are going to share some personal stories. So the first person that I have, his name is Ben. He was working at Philipp Plein. So without further ado, here's Ben.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing today?
Good, I'm Tim. We didn't get to meet in person.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Ben. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for reaching out. I got so excited when I saw your message.
It really happened like the day after I listened to your podcast. It was so weird, like really, really weird. Because I've never experienced anything like that before. Like, I work there constantly, but the guy was working there like one day out of a month, I would say. And then after the situation happened, I told him about your podcast, and he was like, we were all scared. Cool. So hi everyone, my name is Ben. I work on the 7th floor at Beverly Center, and recently we bumped into this weird situation where we were working together, with my colleague. He usually doesn't work at the store; he's just covering. So he mostly works at Rodeo Drive, and it was just two of us at the store at that day because the traffic is usually slow on Sundays, and pretty much it's just very, very, mall is usually dead on Sunday. And so the situation happened that he went to the lunch, and then he was sitting in the back. So our store, we have just recently moved to this store, actually. So it's like the brand has just opened like a month and a half ago. And the funny thing is that it has this layout. So it goes the floor, and then it goes like the back. And then after the back, we have our own kind of place, like kitchen and office and the restroom, so we can chill back there. So he was sitting in the kitchen, and it's all the way to the back. And usually when you kind of work together, like it's only two of you, it's just sometimes when there's like a group of people, you have to call someone onto the floor in order to cover you. So you could go to the back, get some sizes and stuff to bring it out for the customer. And I get this random message, don't call me. Don't shout me from the floor. Don't call me from the floor. Text me, which we usually do. Like, we don't call each other by name, like yelling from the floor, because it's really, really hard to kind of hear what's going on the floor. And like you have to like really yell in order to make the person get back to the floor. So we usually text each other like, "Hey, come to the floor." And the message was really weird because I don't do that. I don't yell people from the floor because you have to go all the way to the back, like to the end of the back, in order to yell to the person, like so he could come out, right? And then the funny thing is that I have never called him, and he comes out from the lunch. He's like, did you call me like several times? I was like, no. And he swears that he heard like somebody calling his name like several times. That was the reason he texted me, like, don't call me, just text me.
Oh, that's crazy.
And,
did he say if it was a man's voice or a woman's voice?
I'm not sure because I mean it might be man's voice because I mean obviously he was referring to me as calling him from the floor, so yeah. I guess it was a man's voice. And the second thing, it was that he was chilling in the office after that, and we have like the tile floor, we have the hard floor, so we like. Inside inside the store, inside the boutique, we have like this carpet floor, right? But in the back, pretty much it's just the tile or just the like concrete floor. And what he said is that he actually heard like 3 footsteps of men's shoes. It's not the heels, it's the shoes. And like somebody bumped into the wall. But the funny thing that the office is like really, really detached from any outside wall. You know, like it's just like a small box in the middle of everywhere.
Right.
So that was the crazy part of it. I literally had the chills going through my spine like that day, and I just really didn't want to stay there. Like really,
that's wild. Did you experience anything the rest of the day?
You know, like it's really hard to explain, but right now there's like this issue going on that we cannot resolve with the AC, so it's like always cold. But even when it's not, I always like feel chill because we do also have the store on the 6th floor. And it's like always this kind of constant feeling that like somebody's watching you, especially like on the 6th floor, because like I really don't want to go to the back. Like it always gives me like this goosebumps when I go to the back by myself. I'm not like the kind of scaring, like really person who gets scared really easily per se, but like I don't want to go to the back. Like always, I would rather ask someone because I constantly get that feeling that somebody's like literally staring at me. That's just that is wild. That's my experience so far. But on the 7th floor, I haven't experienced it that much, and I'm not really looking forward to do that.
Yeah, and especially since you guys just opened too. That's wild.
Yeah, because I do remember that you were saying that some crazy stuff going on, especially on the 7th floor. And I was kind of making fun of my colleague, the other one. She really gets scared, like very easily. Like whenever you say something about ghosts, she just like runs away from you instantly. And I was just like making fun of them all the time, and that situation happened, and like. That's just like super loud.
And just to let you guys know, Philipp Plein had 2 locations at the Beverly Center. I believe only one of them is still there, and that's the one that Ben was referring to on the 7th floor in the luxury wing. I believe the one in the 6th floor, the center court, has closed. So transitioning from Philipp Plein, we are moving into Michael Kors. And Michael Kors is situated on the 7th floor across from Dolce & Gabbana in Center Court. So we're going to cover a lot between my 3 guests from Michael Kors. So we have Angela, Jennifer, and Xochitl. And we cover everything from a possible ghost being in the fitting room to a chair moving to hearing voices to shadow figures. Yep, everything's there. So this is our first guest, Angela, followed by Jennifer and Xochitl.
So I work at Michael Kors. My name is Angela, and I had 2 ladies came in that day on Thursday, 5:50 p.m. I believe, and it was 2 ladies that came in, short curly hair. One of them I couldn't even miss. She was wearing white t-shirt, jeans, and I believe it was like a Louis Vuitton bag. One of her friends left, and then the other girl stayed, and she was looking at the shoes. And as she was looking, I had asked her if she needed any help, and she didn't say anything. Then she was looking at the clothes, and I heard movement, and then I also heard the fitting room. I heard her go inside the fitting room. The door was closed. I heard the door close, and I was like, that's weird. So I was standing in the front, and men's doors were closed, and I was in the women's. And I went to go check up on her. Both doors were open. I went in the back and I asked my other coworker, I was like, did you come in the fitting room? And she said no. So I came back out and no one was here. I don't know what happened. I don't know. She did not pass by me at all. So I strongly believe that it was a ghost.
And that's crazy. Did it look just like two normal women?
Yes.
And there was no other way that they could have exited the store, right?
I saw one of them leave, but the other one stayed. And I was standing in the front, and no one passed by me. Completely disappeared. It was really weird.
That's so wild. Has anything else happened, like anything falling off the shelves or anything else?
Nope. And the shoe that she picked up was put back in the same place. Exactly. That was also another weird part. So I was in the back room at work and it was quiet and I was updating my usual board, and next to me I heard a whisper saying, I'm here. But it was like more of like, I'm here, like that. And I didn't panic, so I ignored it as if I didn't hear anything, but I was like literally freaking out inside. But I literally ignored it. I was like, I'm ignoring, I did not hear it. But it was like a soft, like, I'm here, like that in my ear. Yeah,
and that day I closed with her that day, and she came out. She was pale, and she looked really scared for her life. She's like, Jennifer, I cannot go to the back anymore. Like, I have to stay out here for a while because I heard a girl say, I'm here.
So scary. No? So I usually park on level 5 in Beverly Center, and I usually like take my lunch there and whatever, and I eat and I watch my show. And then I just see like the elevator open, and like I could see the mirror and there's no one there but a black shadow. And then the red doors was open and it just shut automatically.
And did it look like the shadow was on the elevator? Or
yes, it was in the elevator. It was in the elevator, and it just like it was like very light black shadow, very light, and I could see it through the mirror because the elevator has like 4 mirrors, I think, and I could see it on both ends. And I was like tripping out. I was like, oh my God. But I always, like, maybe 2-3 times a week I'll see it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, every time when I'm in my car. So sometimes I try to avoid to eat my lunch there.
And especially because you said no one like got on or off. So it's like it just opened
and it opens on its own and then closes on its own. Sometimes it's on the level, not the level, the number A or number C, but never B. So it's either A or C, never B. It's weird.
It's so crazy.
My name is Jennifer. I work at Michael Kors too. My situation that I experienced happened, I want to say 2 weeks ago. So I was told to go to the back room and backstock some things. This included like shoes and clothing, putting back on the rack. And the moment that I started with the shoes, putting them back on the rack, I heard the chair move where we do packaging. And I looked to the side, and I thought at first that it was my manager, and it wasn't him. I was kind of concerned because I thought I was hearing things. So after that, I would go back and put the remaining shoes, and I would hear the chair move again as if someone was about to sit down and kind of spin. So then I got freaked out. I came outside to the front and I asked my manager, I said, hey, like, did you go to the back to get something for a client? And he said, no, I haven't gone to the back. I'm just here. So I told him, I'm like, I am not kidding. I heard someone in the back as if they're just like going to sit down or grab something. That continued for like about 10 minutes, just kind of like playing hide and seek. So the moment I would look away, I would hear that. So in order to like stop hearing stuff, I had to play some music or something. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, so my name is Xochitl. I work at Michael Kors. So my experience was, I think it was the one that we're just here talking, just amongst ourselves, and out of nowhere, like that bag, we hear a thump, and we're just like, "What's that?" So we go and then we go check, and it's the bag. But mind you, the bag is like literally against the wall, and that we're like, "What? How can that happen?" So we put it back up, came back to talking, and then that's when I heard something else, another thump, and we couldn't find the source of it. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it was like outside or something like that. At the end of the shift, we closed. She came back inside because she couldn't lock the door, and then I just looked. I looked at the window. Something told me to look at the window, and that's when I saw the I think
The
it was
backpack.
the big
The big backpack.
yeah, the tall backpack up top was on the ground.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck? How?
My experience was when I was in the back and I was updating the board. I just heard like humming, and no one was in like the back at all. And then I was like, it was literally like a And then when my store manager came in, I was like, was that you? And he's like, no, that wasn't me. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So it was like humming. And then what was the one time whenever you were in the bathroom?
Oh, the bathroom. So I went to the restroom, and I had just said, okay, I'm coming to the restroom. Don't bug me. I just need my alone time. And then that's when I heard, that's fine, or okay, or something like that.
Did it sound like it was a woman's voice, or you weren't able to like make it out?
It was like a little girl's voice. So the little girl was all like, okay, like in that little high pitch, okay.
And then she also said, did you call me?
And then that's when I was doing my business. I had already, I was washing my hands. As I was about to, I grabbed my walkie, and as I was about to open the door, I heard, did you call me? In that same little girl's voice. And then I was like, I opened the door and I looked to see if Angela was there. Like, because we usually try to scare each other. Like, we walk behind each other and scare each other. So I was like looking, and then I was like, what the heck? So I'm like, Angela. I didn't hear nothing. And I was like, she's gonna try to scare me. So then I come to the front, and I'm like, did you did you call me or something? She's like, no, I've been over here doing whatever she was doing, I think paperwork. And I was like, I heard somebody say, did you call me?
Oh my god.
And then she was like, no. And I was like, okay. So now every time I go to the back, I go, I'm not here for you. I just need something, or I need to go to the restroom.
And does it feel like for your store more of like the activity happens in the stock room or towards the back half, or it just depends?
I think it's more of the back, more of the stock room, where the men's shoes is as well. And I don't know if it's just me, or it's where in that little the first side of the shoes.
Where the bathrooms are?
Kind of, yeah. So sometimes I feel her, or I feel like, I say her because that's what I heard. The girl, the little girl. And then every time I'm here just, doing my business in the front, I always see that shadow. And it's not that tall, but not too short either. So that's why I'm like, okay, I think it's a her.
And did you see the shadow close to where, Angela, you saw the shadow?
No, mine was
saw
over
there?
here by the men's section.
No, mine was here on the women's side. So whenever I was talking to her, we were talking about. Usually we get a little personal, so we were just talking. And then, like in the corner of my eye, because like I was literally face to face with her, like literally like this. And then I'm like, I turn and I like from the corner of my eye, I see a black shadow here by the purse, and I was like, did you see that, Xochitl? She's like, see what? And I was like, a black shadow. And it was like literally right here. Like it was low, like mid, like air. And then she was like, no, I didn't see anything. I was like, no, I saw a black shadow. So that one was scary. And then also one time when I was in the back, I was doing like the strat sheet and whatever and looking up like all of the stuff. And then I just hear like, I'll put my shoe on it so you can hear. Like I literally heard like this. And then I was like, telling my coworker I yelled her name, like not yelled, like really loud. And I'm like, is that you? And I hear nothing. And then I literally came out and I was like, was that you in the back? She's like, no, I've been out here. And I'm like, I literally heard like your heels. And I was like tripping out.
That's wild because you heard the heels before too. So
I've heard
right?
the heels before. It was more like I think it was closing, and I heard. I think either you were in the back or it was Alexi, and I heard the heels, and I'm like, who's in here? So I go and I'm checking around, and there's no one in here, and I'm like, okay, ghost.
Yeah,
If you want to shop, just let me know, man.
Yeah, it's scary.
Thank you guys.
Of course.
Well, there you have it. That is the 7th floor at the Beverly Center. There are a few consistencies that I want to point out. The heels show up time and time again. A lot of people in different areas of the mall hear heels and walking. I know on the 6th floor, when I worked in Suite 667, we would hear heels. A couple other people, including Zara, which is on a future episode, hear heels, and then also the shadow figure. There's a lot of times people see shadows, more so in the Bloomingdale's wing that I've noticed. Bloomingdale's, and then a little bit, this is closer to Center Court, but a shadow figure is also seen throughout the mall. So thank you guys so much for listening. As always, if you have any personal stories or you know anyone who has had any experiences involved with the Beverly Center, please tell them to reach out. I'd love to hear from them and from their experiences overall. I really appreciate you guys listening. If you feel compelled to leave me a 5-star review, I would really love it and I would really appreciate it. I love hearing feedback, what you like, and moving forward, what I can do to make it more enjoyable for you. So thank you guys so much for listening. This is the Beverly Center Part 5. I will be back with the Part 6 on the 6th floor next. So I will see you guys soon. Thank you for listening. Bye.